leading a team to solve a big, hard problem. There's nothing that feels better. When you and a group of people work really hard to solve a problem, it's one of the most amazing feelings of accomplishment that I think we as a species can have, especially one that felt really unclear and really uncertain going in. But a lot of times, working in a team to do something like that is so messy. It can be, there's just a lot of stuff that can go on. I mean, some people, like, people don't want to speak up because they're fear of feeling judged. There's a lot of misalignment issues, and there's just really a lot of miscommunication. So that's what we're going to talk about today. These areas of communication that people have challenges with, that's what we're going to bring up. So we're going to talk about the different areas in where communication can feel hard, or where it can kind of divide people rather than bring them together. And then after that, I'm going to share 3 things that we can do to help get your team to work together to solve problems. So the first area of miscommunication that can make things really difficult is having a different perspective or different values. So for example, marketing versus product, right? Marketing is trying to bring people in the door. Product is trying to provide a value to these people. And sometimes marketing maybe just focus on bringing in as many people as they possibly can, but product can't keep up with it. That's not always the case, but that's just an example of where they have 2 very different perspectives, and because of those perspectives, they're not aligned. And they might have difference in values. So these people value sales versus quality. And again, it doesn't always have to be conflicting, but that's what happens, is that people have different perspectives, different values, and those are something that can cause a lot of tension when trying to communicate with a team, especially if you have a big team with a bunch of different departments and different stakeholders. So it's something to be really mindful of when you go into the meeting, that there are going to be people with these different values, these different perspectives, and we can actually use that to our advantage to try to understand everyone's perspective so you get a clearer picture of the whole scenario and the whole picture, rather than being stuck in your perspective and looking at someone else's perspective and coming from a place of us versus them. So that's a big area of where there's a lot of challenge with communication. Another challenge that I see a lot when teams are trying to solve big problems is people get really passionate about it, which is fantastic. And there's also times where there's emotional challenges where people feel attacked, people feel sad, people feel frustrated, people feel anxious, people feel uncertain. And all these emotions are occurring in people, which is totally normal. And it can very much take away from one's ability to see what's happening, to provide the most value, and to almost get like your feet kind of stuck in the sand because of the emotional reaction we're having. And so again, when you're going to work with a group of people to solve a big problem, know that there's going to be a lot of emotions happening, a lot of emotions that can get in the way. And again, these emotions in themselves aren't bad. It's just the way that we respond to them and how we act after we feel them is what can be challenging when working with a group of people. So if you start feeling frustrated, you might decide to hold back information. You feel anxious, so then you spend a lot of time just running a million different scenarios in your head and you don't actually get anything done. So it's helpful for you to be able to check in with yourself and your team members of, okay, what are the emotions that are happening here? Let's address them. Let's affirm them that, they're real and that it's okay to have those. And we can move on from that and we can continue to monitor that. But don't allow the emotions to be so silent when they can be so present in a space, in a group of people. So really keeping eyes on that. Another challenge that comes with working with a group of people is this lack of trust, especially if you're getting different departments together, especially if you're getting people who have different criteria or different needs and wants. And so it can be very challenging to know that I can put my faith that this person will do everything they can for the group and not just for themselves. Especially if incentives are based off of particular things that could cause conflict. Like again, like I talked about earlier, marketing and sales, their incentives are generally to bring in as many people as they possibly can. Meanwhile, the product team's not able to keep up with the amount of people coming in. Now again, it's not bad or wrong, it's just you have different incentives of how to make money. And so having different incentives, different views, different perspectives, it can be hard to create trust, especially from the beginning of a big group of people, new team members coming in. It's very normal. And so to just be aware of that when you're working with your teams, to take time and purposefulness to earn each other's trust. In some ways you can do that is just through hard conversations, but honest conversations. Making small commitments with one another. Being honest about, hey, here's all the things that we want. Here's all the things that we want. Where can we find the overlap and find the win-win? Those are some of the things you could do to build trust, but it's not always just... some teams can take it for granted, thinking that trust is already built in, when there really isn't a lot of trust there. Another area where there can be a lot of tension in the communication when working to solve a big problem is looking at and interpreting data and facts. Some people might look at one piece of data and have one perspective, and then someone else looks at that data and has a whole nother perspective. Again, it's not about the right or wrong of it. It's just that it's very easy for people to assume things and create divisiveness when talking about those facts, rather than looking to try to understand what's your perspective on this fact, what's your perspective on this data, why do you see it like that, how come you came to that conclusion, and really working to try to understand why people might have different interpretations of data or facts. So that's something that can create a lot of divisiveness, and just again, be aware when you're working with a big group to solve big problems. And then like I talked about before, there might be a lot of needs or interest conflicts, so just be aware of that. There also just might be some tension between some of the relationships in the room, where one person got a promotion over another, or this person kind of stole someone else's project in the past, whatever, or you just don't like a lot of the things that this person says, and you might find some of this stuff offensive. Whatever it may be, the relationships in the rooms themselves can cause just a lot of conflict. As people bring in issues from previous things into this new environment where we're trying to solve a problem as a group. And that can be very tricky, but the goal is to try to leave that stuff at the door and allow that stuff to be in the past, and just focus on, hey, where are we trying to go with this problem? How is this going to benefit us, everyone in this group, in this team, and really work together to try to overcome those personal challenges with different relationships, because it's really not about you. It's about the group. It's about the people that you're trying to serve. And to let go of one's ego can be really hard, and it could just serve such a greater purpose if you're willing to just let go. Now, that doesn't mean you have to forget everything, but you can forgive and try to move on for the sake of everyone there coming together to try to solve this problem. So these are some of the things that you can do when your team is trying to solve a big problem. And I have a little gift for you. So in the description below, we have a free resource that really allows you and your team to be able to have better meetings and get to work better with one another so that you can have more productive, open, forward-moving, less divisive conversations so that your team feels a lot better emotionally, but they're also a lot more productive because you created a space that allows them to feel safe and comfortable and that they can open up and really work with and collaborate with one another to solve a big problem rather than be divisive and not engaged in this space. So that's going to be below. I just want to say I hope this was helpful for you all. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day.